I think it's and I tweeted this out, I think it's the best fight in the UFC in, I can't remember, man. For me, it was a game changer. I think it was not only the most important fight in UFC history, but it delivered. Name the last fight of that magnitude that delivered. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, terrible. Granted, Floyd did a great job, but it was a terrible fight. Think how much hype was around this fight, and you couldn't write this. You know what I'm saying? You literally you couldn't write how good this fight was. And I gotta be honest, man. When Conor they made him walk out first. Obviously, he lost the last one, and it's not even his division. And Nate's ranked higher, so that's why he walks out first. But when he was walking out, I knew it was going to be a good night because how serious he was. If you remember the first fight, me and Cal were watching it together at Frank Grilla's house. The first fight with Nate Diaz, when he walked out and he's high-fiving like he's in the club, I looked at Brian and went, oh, no. He doesn't realize what kind of animal he's dealing with. I went, I don't think this can be good. And Brian goes, why do you say that? I went, he's not focused. He's not taking it serious. He thinks it's just another walk in the park. And you're fighting, not only fighting one of the dogs of the UFC, but he's also experienced, way bigger, better boxer, and probably the toughest guy to ever walk through the octagon. As far as straight toughness, Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, both of those guys are first team all tough co-captains. I'd love to hear an argument say different. So when Conor in that first fight didn't take it as serious, I knew he was in trouble. This one, there was no games. You could tell he was nervous, which I love. He was dead serious, mouthpiece in, ready to go. But when he started doing well in that first round, then he started to get a little comfortable. Like, oh no, what are you doing, man? He has to deliver those antics and that entertainment value. I get. You got to win this. You lose this fight. You lose this fight. That's 2 in a row. It's over, bro. It's over as far as there's no more Mystic Mac. Now you're just Conor McGregor, and we can't sell that. It's a tough sell. You lose 2 in a row. It's a tough sell. The Mystic is gone. So first round, 2 knockdowns. You could have it at 10-8.
First round, or second round was.
Second round, 2 knockdowns. First round, 1 knockdown.
Yeah, first round, 1 knockdown.
So, and before I give my critique of this fight, remember, and there's so much nasty hate out there on the internet. It's okay to be a critical thinker and critique the fight. It doesn't mean you're a troll. It doesn't mean you hate one guy more. If you take your bias out of the fight and you just look at the fight, and I see the Diaz fans posting pictures when Conor turned his back and ran in the 5th round. Well, Conor fans can post 3 different times when Nate was sat on his ass from punches to the face. So you can't take one aspect of the fight and say, oh, he won because of this. By the 5th round, he was running. No, by the 5th round, he had the fight won, and he's just trying to survive. So first round, obviously, Conor 10-9. Second round, you could argue a 10-8, 10-9. Well, let's just go 10-9 for Conor. So you have first 2 rounds for Conor. Third round, you have a 10-9 for Nate. By that third round, I was like, oh, shit, here we go again, maybe. And he looked gassed. He looked tired. That's why I was like, dude, you spent 6 figures on the camp, most expensive camp of all time. You're tired after 8 minutes of fight. Like, he was tired, exhausted. Granted, he's getting kicked in the face, punched in the face, all that. So that's going to hurt your cardio, which you can't duplicate in training camp. So that third round, I was like, damn, here we go. And people thought that was going to happen. I think Nate Diaz camp thought first 2 rounds, Conor's going to tee off. He's going to get going. He's going to light him up. And as he gets going, you just got they're like a tidal wave, man. I don't know if anyone else in the world can fight like Nate Diaz does. He's like the Terminator. He just keeps. And finally, like, God, dog, what? I've tried everything. I've done everything. He just keeps coming forward. And you just finally wilt and he wins the fight. That's how tough those guys are. So that third round, I was like, man, we're in a little bit of trouble. Fourth round, the old Mystic Mac dug deep. He dug deep, but you could tell he was in trouble. We started to get his flow back. Nate, all those leg kicks started to catch up with him. You could tell, and then obviously in the 5th round, so you have first 2 rounds, Conor easy. That's not even a question. If you don't think Conor won the first round, you should never watch the sport again, and you should probably just go watch, I don't know, WWE where you can predict the winners. So first 2 rounds, Conor all day. Third round, you have Nate. There's no argument there. 10-9 round. Fourth round, Conor. Again, that's a pretty easy one. 4th round. It's very clear to me. There's no controversy here.
That's what I thought too.
There's literally no controversy.
I thought the exact same thing. First 2 clearly to Conor, 4th to Conor, 3rd and 5th to Nate. I've seen people arguing, lots of people, including fighters, like UFC fighters on Twitter.
Legit fighters?
Yeah, arguing that Nate won the 2nd round. Which I thought was probably the clearest one. Because he controlled like the last 90 seconds.
And he dropped him twice.
Yeah, it's like this isn't Pride where you score it based on like the last minute of a fight.
No, it's not the overall sum of the fight. It's round by round. So it's very clear 3-2. I didn't even think it was an argument. So when I saw flack on social media, I'm like, oh no, don't let your favoritism and your love for the Diaz brothers, who I love too, man. I'm so happy. $2 million, thank God, man. That guy deserves it. His star's only getting bigger. You could argue that Conor won that fight, but Nate Diaz won the war. You know what I'm saying? And as far as war, the popularity war. Because throwing the middle finger, this straight battle, and then with Conor, like, oh, man, that was tough. Like, in that 3rd round, I remember thinking, but not even the 3rd round. I remember in the 1st round when they're in the clinch, how big Nate Diaz is. I remember thinking to myself, God, what the fuck are they doing? Let's go pros and cons here. Granted, it's worked out. It's been great for Nate Diaz. This is the fight, and this is the magnitude of a rivalry that he's always needed in his career. And he's never been bigger. He's top 5 most famous guys in the UFC easily now. Easily, if not top 3. The question is the pros and cons of having Conor, your most famous man by far, your most famous fighter by far, fight a guy who's, what was Nate, 5th or 7th in the 175?
I think it was 7th.
Okay, having him, the pros and cons of him fight Nate Diaz. Like, if you look at it, it's the blueprint to how to ruin your biggest star. Granted, it's made another star out of Nate Diaz, but to have a true 145er, some will argue 55er, to have a true 145er fight a 170er who's really a true 155er, but the pros and cons are crazy. It's paid off, but that 3rd fight, I don't know if I want to see it. If you're a Conor fan, I don't know if you want to see that. I don't know if you want to see that. And Dana White made the comment, I'm over this. I'm over this whole Nate Diaz Conor thing. I want to move on. Conor's next fight, and these are the words from the bald horse's mouth there. The next fight is Jose Aldo. Get the fuck out of it. What? No one wants to see it unless you're in his camp, unless you're Brazilian. No one's trying to see a Jose Aldo Conor rematch. I'm not. That does nothing for me. Literally nothing. Nothing. That pisses me off. That fight, and it's not nothing as Jose. He's a great champion. He probably deserves it.
It makes you angry.
It does nothing for me. It does nothing for Conor either. And then he said, so it's either he defends his belt at 145 or vacates it, which I think he should do, or he fights Eddie Alvarez at 155. It's a tough go-to because that motherfucker can wrestle. That wrestling scares me. So that's why I was telling Brian on our last show when we were breaking this fight down, and with Rogan, that for Conor McGregor, it gets a lot tougher from here on out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're Conor McGregor. There's no easy fights. It's literally like, all right, Nate Diaz, who's enormous, he's way bigger than you, and you had a fucking war, man. That first fight you lost. We can do that trilogy again at 155, which Nate is better at. He's a natural 155er. He's better at 155 than he's 70. So I don't know how that goes down. So it's either trilogy, Eddie Alvarez, Jose Aldo, or you fight one of the other monsters in the top 5 at 55. It's not fun. It's not, and granted that as champion, that's how it should be. But you look at it, and I don't know if he's favored in any of those fights besides Jose Aldo. Like, if you're his manager, you're kind of like, what the fuck do we do? I'll tell you what you do. I'll tell you exactly what you do and what he's going to do.
All right, let's see if this plan is the same one.
You fight Floyd Mayweather for $30 million and keep the rest of the UFC on ice because you're the biggest star. Get your money. Because the route the UFC is going to have you go, it's going to be fucking rocky, man. It's going to be tough. There's a lot of tough matchups. I don't know what happens. Right now, you're Mystic Mac. You just beat Nate Diaz. Huge rematch. Hopefully, it's the biggest pay-per-view of all time. I'm sure it's going to be up there, top 5 easily. His other 3 fights are. Use that, and from what I hear from inside sources, is the only reason Floyd and Conor didn't fight before, they had a venue, the teams agreed to it. I heard everything was in agreement. Money issue between Conor and Floyd, which seems to happen with Floyd a lot. Floyd thinks he deserves all the money, which is a legit argument, and then Conor thinks he deserves all the money. So they just need to come to agreement on the money. Grant, it's a circus. It's kind of, it's crazy. Even think about it, you're fighting probably the best boxer of all time. You're telling me everyone in this room wouldn't pay to watch that? You're telling me you wouldn't rather watch Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather than Conor versus Jose Aldo 2? What?
There's no combat sports event I would buy faster than that.
You and probably
and everyone.
Everyone.
And everyone. The entire United States plus Ireland.
It might break Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather.
I guarantee you it does.
And you can charge the same amount.
I guarantee you it does.
I'll also tell you this. I think it's a huge opportunity for the UFC because you're never going to have another Conor McGregor, a guy of his stature, with his swagger, with his presence, that can cross over and fight arguably the best pound-for-pound boxer of all time in a freak match. Floyd Mayweather, he's at the age where he can do it right now. He's not in his prime, but he's damn good. Conor McGregor, huge star. You have this one opportunity. Why not make it happen? And obviously Dana's into money. Obviously he's into money and making ratings. You got CM Punk fighting in a couple weeks. You think? And I love CM Punk. I think the courage is taking and what he's doing is nuts. It's insane if you think about it. Is he out of his league? Probably. It's going to sell though. They've done it before. If you now have Brock Lesnar go from WWE to here, they're obviously in it for the money, for the big names, the big tickets. This is your golden ticket. There's nothing bigger. I know people are like, oh, it's ridiculous though. He can't beat Floyd. I don't give a fuck about all that. I want to see